G'day guys, Mackie the Outer Circle, and today we're looking at the second of our what-if scenarios for building an army in 30k for people who are deciding to get into it. This episode is going to be about the Second Legion. Now when I say that, it's not about what the Second Legion actually used, no, because their Primarchs don't exist, they basically don't exist. The fluff is left open to interpretation however you want to fill it in, except for female Space Marines, but Arch Warhammer can talk all about that because he's done some good episodes on that. No, this is all about creating an early Crusade force. You're not going to see a lot of equipment you would normally imagine in armies. Instead, you're looking at what was around in that first sort of 50 years or so. There's going to be pretty much no marks other than Mark II in it. There's going to be no Terminators. There's going to be a very limited selection of your Dreadnoughts and Walkers, limited selection of vehicles, and instead what we're going to do is play around with an infantry-based army. Now, odd as that may sound, you've got to think of it this way. It isn't about being competitive, and it's not to say that you're not competitive, it's just you're trying to replicate a theme here. This is, as always, not meant to be the perfect force. It's just a starting force, what if scenario, something you can build onto, add onto later, and allows you to play games set in certain time periods and without the restrictions that come later of having to fit neatly into any one legion. This is basically the vanilla legion. So, to start off with, we have a Mark II command squad. Now, this squad is... well, I actually just really like it. It's a good base formula to use. Now, the beauty of it is the armour is period authentic, and later on, there's also certain upgrades you can give them to really make them your own. But since there's such a blank slate without any of the Legion iconography and they're quite plain, very easy to do with pretty much whatever you want. So, that's the starting point. From there, Legion Mark II Crusader armour. How much of it or how little of it you incorporate is up to you, but there are 3 troop selections here that I want to talk about. First is the Mark II armour itself, the Crusade armour. You can either use them as tactical squads, or if you choose Despoilers and Assault Marines, which are the other 2 options, which I may as well show you now. If you're going to use those ones to fulfill your basic troops requirements, I would suggest using these as tactical support squads or even heavy support squads, or even veteran squads. It's entirely at your discretion as you choose to build the army. I'm just here to give you ideas. Now, with that in mind, you have to decide, do you want to be aggressive? Do you want to be running towards your enemies? If so, probably good to have Despoiler squads, and if you're going to go to that effort, then maybe it's worth looking at Land Raiders or Rhinos. Probably Rhinos, because I don't know that the Land Raider was actually discovered that bloody early in the Heresy. In the Great Crusade. If you want to go for assault troops, well, you don't need the Rhinos, you can just rely on them using their jump packs to get into battle. If you take certain rights of war, you can also deep strike with them and that kind of thing, but then you're getting into that grey zone. So, up to you which way you go. No matter what you do though, always try at the 2000 points level to have at least 4 scoring units. As you lack Terminators, pretty much troops on foot and veterans are going to be the only units who have that are scoring. This is not 7th edition 40k where everything is scoring. This is the Horus Heresy, only listed units and troops choices are scoring. Now, once you've made your decision on which of the 3 that you want to use, or any combination of which, I would suggest a couple of Legion command squads. Easy ways to mark out your sergeants, of course, is having the crested helmets, and the Cognus Signums, or in this case Nuncio Voxes, are also good for marking out and adding that bit of extra flavour and detail to your units. If you decide you just want the helmets, I'm sure you can go on eBay and get them separate. This is the Legion Mark II power weapon set. It comes with a lovely set of melter bombs. It also comes with arms to hold pistols, swords, different combat weapons, and also you have a range of power fists, power claws, and of course heavy chainsword. This is not only ideal for equipping your sergeants and upgrading your assault squads, but also for your main HQs. Maybe you don't want to have a bolt pistol or a chainsword on your banner. Maybe you want your banner, who could be a Herald HQ type as opposed to a command squad, maybe you want to give him Power Fist. Since he's only fighting with one hand anyway, you may as well give him a good weapon. Again, entirely at your discretion. You don't need to buy it, but if you want to customize the army and really make it your own, it's probably the best way of doing it. For the basic bitch infantry, you have the Phobos pattern bolt guns. So these are your early era Crusade bolt guns. They have the chainsaw bayonets as well as the regular kind, up to you if you want to put them on at all, but these look great. If you're going down the tactical support squad route, I would love to see more Volkites in Heresy, so this is where I'm going to suggest them. Volkite, Volkite, Volkite. They're awesome on tactical support squads if you play them right. Yes, they have bad AP, but the Deflagrate rule and the higher strength does come in handy, especially if you bump into Mechanicum forces, Solar Auxilia, that kind of thing. If you go down the heavy support path, again, Volkite, Volkite, Volkite. I have a 10-man 1000 Sun Volkite Culverian squad in my 1000 Suns. Holy fuck, it earns its points back every game. They are spectacular. You put out 40 shots, they're strength 6, yeah, they're only AP 5, but at that many shots, you're hitting on 3s, you're wounding on 2s, and for every wound that gets through, every failed armor save, you cause an additional wound on that squad. So, adds up very fast. If you fight against militia, this will be your best friend, especially if you're fighting against, say, Plague Zombie squads, as we like to call them. Toughness 3 units with Feel No Pain generally will not get a save, or they feel no pain against these weapons. They just instantly kill, and that means they automatically roll over that Volkite wound, so they kill an extra guy. A squad of 10 Marines with these weapons will statistically kill over 50 cultists a turn. Since there's only 50 in a squad, you just wipe out the squad. Spectacular for dealing with hordes. It will deal with pretty much anything. The only thing that will give you pause is cover. And hey, if they're sitting in cover well away from your heavy weapons, that's probably a good thing for you anyway. Since you're lacking a lot of the combat power of things like Terminators and those kind of elite units that you would normally unlock from having a certain legion, instead, I suggest taking a Contemptor Dreadnought. In this case, I would also suggest going for maybe Twin Fists. And with that, probably Heavy Flamers and a Havoc Launcher on top. It gives you a way of dealing with those hordes, and it also means that you're going to be pretty solid in assaults. It gives you a way of killing Terminators, or just you can drive it into a unit that you're worried about, something like Palatine Blades, which mostly just have chargeable sabres, for example, but will carve through your infantry. You can tie them up with your Dreadnought. There might be occasional Melter Bomb to deal with, but if you've got enough attacks with your fists and you soften them up with a bit of Flamer and a little bit of Havoc Launcher beforehand, you should be able to deal with them all right. A cool idea is to take a Master of the Forge for one of your HQs or a Praevian. I think the Tech Marine in Mark III works really well. The beauty of this is that Mark III and Mark II armor are basically the same thing. Mark III armor is essentially just Mark II with extra plates bolted onto the front of it. And being a Tech Marine, he has extra armor bolted on anyway, so cannon-wise, it looks perfectly fine. It doesn't actually look like Mark III. So for those who are complete purists, this works great. And the other thing is, both the Master of the Forge and the Praevian are fantastic options, both of whom unlock the Vorax. Whether you take the Vorax as part of the Praevian squad, or if you take them as a fast attack choice in your army because you take the Master of the Forge as a HQ, which will unlock that, either way is fine. An IInd Cleanser is a must-have on the squad. It will melt power armor. it's just that simple. That's what it does. It melts power armor. If you're going to go for the rotor cannons, which you have no choice, Poison upgrade. Worth the points, trust me. Take a full squad of 6, put them with the Praevian, and you can outflank. Fantastic. Since you don't have a Legion trait, just pick the free special rule, go for the outflank. When 6 Vorax come on to someone's flank, and they can move up to 12 inches a turn, that is terrifying for any armoured vehicles they may have, anything like Terminators, because the Vorax will hit first, before Power Fist will, and they will not allow armour saves. They are Strength 6, their attacks are rending, and each Vorax has something like 4 or 5 attacks on the charge, off the top of my head. And they're only weapon skill 4, but hey, they'll do damage. Trust me. I love using Vorax in games, and there's something you don't see enough of. I've convinced a few people to start running them, and everyone who has run them says, yeah, no, they are worth it. They were a very overlooked unit for a long time in Mechanicum armies, only because the Gastalax used to be so strong back when this model first released. Now that it's had time to wear in, those who appreciate it love it. It gives you AP 2, it gives you vehicle killing power, because again, Strength 6 and Rending can really hurt a lot of vehicles with 4 attacks per model. Yeah. For a heavy support choice, I've actually picked 2 different heavy supports. First, the Fire Raptor gunship. Whilst I'm not a massive fan of the rules, it is important to have some sort of anti-air defense in there. Anti-air is one of those funny things where you don't miss it when you don't have it, but when you need it, you crave it. Because a well-placed flyer can just fuck your day up. A Primaris Lightning with Kraken penetrators flying on the side of the board, shooting up, say, your 500-point Spartan, and blowing it up on arrival, will bring a tear to people's eyes. So I suggest the Fire Raptor. It gives you good suppressive firepower, it has a lot of AP4, a lot of high strength weaponry. You definitely want to take it with the Reaper autocannons, not the heavy bolters, and just go to town with it, doing strafing. You just fly in circles, you can fire the weapons independently of one another. It will help you deal with things like Mechanicum, due to the higher strength and the fact that a lot of Mechanicum only have 4-up saves. So it'll kill things like Ursarax and Thalax quite quickly. It will absolutely decimate tech thralls. And even the bigger guys will take wounds from it occasionally. So it can be pretty handy in that regard. Further to that, the Melkador. They were around in the... in fact, since the Dark Age of Technology, they've been around. I think they're a fantastic tank. Yeah, they've got that whole Mark 1 vibe about them, but Melkadors are a heavy support choice in a Legion army, even though they're a super heavy tank, because they're not a very strong super heavy. They're basically just a big Leman Russ, extra hull points, that kind of thing. If you're not taking Land Raiders, you're not taking Thud Guns, Rapiers, any of that kind of thing, these are a solid choice. They can deal with hordes of infantry, they can also deal with your big blobs of Marines because of the AP3 on the battle cannon. Perfectly valid option for your armies. So that's all things you can take in an early Crusade themed force. Now, don't just limit yourself to the early Crusade. If that's not your theme, I'd like to share this thought. Black Shields. Since Black Shield's iconography is just not defined, it doesn't belong to any one legion or any one sort of trait. It is the perfect decal sheet to use to customize your army and give it markings and making it feel like it's all from the one legion. I really like the L Legion symbol, and you get a few of them on this decal sheet. A couple of these decal sheets and you'll be able to cover the shoulders of your whole army. That's a pretty cool theme. L for Legion, I think that works pretty well, especially because a lot of the markings on early Legions are just undefined. So you can use that to customize them, or you can use, Imperial Eagles, that kind of thing. Whatever really floats your boat. It's up to you. You're making the army, not me. These are just my suggestions. And the beauty of Black Shields is Black Shields are a really versatile fighting force in the 30k game. Essentially, they're Marines who belong to no legion, and instead they get interesting special traits to pick from, such as rag grenades on all their squads, additional toughness or strength, that kind of thing. That is a good way to go with this game. You could build a whole core army, such as I've suggested today, using Mark II armor, build your army around that, and then collect things like your Terminators, your late Legion units like jet bikes, skimmers, that kind of thing. And when you want to play games as early Crusade, you've got the stuff there. If you want to play games late in the Crusade or even in the Heresy, hey, you've got the stuff there to do it as well. You just add it in, take other stuff out on the day. Perfectly valid options. How you do it is entirely up to you. What I've given here is the 30k rivet counters list, basically. Everything that's here is accurate to those early Crusade. Except for maybe the old Mark III Tech Marine. But, hey, you play an army like this, no one's going to tell you off. No one's going to say you can't play that, you can't use that. The idea is it's a Legion with no master. It's an early Crusade list, or it's Black Shields, that kind of thing. Generic Legion is an option. You do not have to pick a Legion in 30k. If you pick generic Space Marine Legion army list, or Crusade army list as it's known, you get to pick a couple of special rules at the start, something like, stubborn, that kind of thing. And yeah, play it how you like. No restrictions on, you must have X amount of troops to tanks ratio. No, none of that. And on top of that, you can also run Rites of War. So don't feel that you're restricted to just having to play the one type of force. Anyway, I'm Mac with the Outer Circle. I hope this has been informative. Thoughts and comments below. And next video will be on the Emperor's Children, and that's going to be next week. Thanks all for watching, and I'll see you all next time.